All right, so let's go over my trade for today, June 24th, which is Tuesday. And so this morning we had the, air quotes, ceasefire with Iran and Israel brokered by Trump, and he made a big deal about it. The markets gapped higher. And um, what do I want to say? We had a lot of bullish price action. We've been looking at the NASDAQ chart here, and if you guys have been following my videos, we've kind of just been looking for longs because of this consolidate or this uptrend, this kind of channel that we've been holding. We're finally breaking the top side of this, getting back to these all-time highs after the volatility from the trade war. And so, in my opinion, the way that I trade, I'm just going to keep getting long until the price tells me otherwise. I work in finance, and I've been in the business for about 12 to 15 years now, and everybody wants to talk about all these different things. Well, we're going to bomb Iran. You should buy energy stocks, or you should buy calls on crude oil, or you should short crude oil because we're actually not going to bomb Iran, and they're not going to close the Strait of Hormuz. And there's all these different speculative things that people want to talk about. If you watch CNBC, they talk about nonsense all day. And making money in the markets, scalping futures, is a completely different skill set and takes a different approach. None of that stuff matters. And it matters in the sense that we have to be aware of it, right? But who cares what happens? Just look at the charts when you're looking for 20 or 30 points. So I'll make more videos about mindset and stuff like that in the future. But when we look at Forex Factory today, obviously we have a bullish bias going into the morning. We had a big rally in stocks. Fears are abating from the global conflict between Iran, Israel, and the United States. Nobody seems to care about tariffs anymore. It seems like they're just baking into the news or into the markets that these deals are going to get cut and everybody's going to be happy. And really, the most important thing right now is the Fed. When are they going to cut rates, and what is the inflation data going to look like in the coming months? So we have Powell testifying at 10 a.m. So what that means is he's going to get up there and he's going to talk about his economic projections and what he sees and what the Fed is looking at in regards to making their decision to cut rates, because they say they want to be data driven, right? They don't want to just willy-nilly be cutting rates and then inflation spikes. And so this is really important, and this could be a non-starter and not do anything to the markets, or it could send the markets up 1 or down 1%. So all you need to know as a trader, you don't need to know all of the stuff that I'm talking about. What you need to know as a trader is if you're going to get in off the open, you should probably be out of your position if you're scalping for 20 or 30 points before 10 o'clock. And then you should probably wait until he's done speaking to put on any more trades. That's the only way we really use this information. And so when we go to the charts now, as always, we start from the daily chart. If you think that doesn't look bullish to you, then maybe you shouldn't be trading. I mean, this is clearly bullish, right? 4 hour bullish. We're setting new highs. Big move higher after the gap down on the bombing of the Iran nuclear facilities. Hourly starting to look bullish again. You can see these EMAs are leading VWAP, VWAP is the pink. You can see all these EMAs, VWAP. This is all very bullish. We're holding it as support here. And if we go down to the 5-minute, you can see that there really wasn't too much going on. And so this honestly hasn't been a great trading day so far. And the reason for that is probably because people are nervous about putting on intraday risk right before Powell comes out. And so this probably isn't going to be a great trading day. Now, luckily, I had a nice little scalp off the open, and we'll talk about that in a second. But when I go to the hourly chart to look for my levels, the only levels that are really here, there's nothing really higher in regards to resistance areas. We're getting back to these all-time highs. We're at the highest point since early this year when we started that sell-off. And so there's not really any resistance above me. And so the way I look at that is we could potentially just float higher unless there's some kind of tape bomb that sends slower. Powell could come out and say that he sees inflation being higher and he's not going to cut rates for the next year. But again, that doesn't really matter. So the only thing I'm really concerned with is that high time frames are bullish. So I want to see the low time frames back that bias that I have and get bullish as well. And when that happens, I want to look for a scalp long. And so the first point that I'd be looking at as a potential resistance area is this Euro London high. And so I'm willing to take a scalp from here to here, anywhere in between. As we start getting up here, I start getting less and less confident. And so ideally, I want to scalp right in this area here so it gives me enough profit margin for me to get up here. Now, you might look at this and say that there's nothing here and there's no way that you took a trade there. But in my opinion, that's the beauty of scalping, because this is a huge move for a scalp, right? So we sold off to 261 and rallied to 330. And so that's 70 points right there. I only need 20 to make my day because I'm trading prop accounts. I'm trading small. I'm just looking to make $400, $500, $600 a day per account. And if you guys aren't familiar with futures and how these prop accounts work, you can trade multiple. And after a while, if you're trading 3, 4, 5 accounts, $400 or $500 per account per day really adds up. So that's all I need. I'm not looking to hit home runs here. And so let's go down to the 1 minute chart now, because we know the bias and we know where our levels are. And so let's look at how this price action played out, because I'm already done for the day, even though it's only 10:30. So VWAP is here. These EMAs are leading VWAP. So although this isn't the most bullish price action, the low time frames to me are still slightly bullish. And so I'm okay with looking for longs here. But now the first thing that I want to see is I want to see buyers step in. So I want to see some of these highs get taken out, right? Once these highs start to get taken out, then I'm confident in attempting a long. And look, at the end of the day, you can have all of the confluences, all of the clues in the world that your trade is going to work out, and it might not work out, which is why stops are important and risk management is so important, and being consistent emotionally is so important. But so let's look at how this played out. So this is the 1 minute chart again. And so we opened and started to sell lower. But again, we're pretty bullish on the high time frames. So my expectation is that this selling off the open is going to get bought up. And that's exactly what happened. And so now we broke these highs. So now, to me, the buyers are starting to step in. I mean, you can look at the chart and see that. Now, you can see that the buyers are still somewhat in control. Now, sellers came back and took this over and shorted this high. But to me, we have the high time frames backing us. And so I'm willing to look for a long now, as long as this 8 EMA stays above the 34 and both EMAs stay above VWAP. And so let's look at how these candles progress. So now I'm really looking for some kind of buying pressure here. And so that's a nice buying candle to me. So I got it on the close of that candle. And so the second that candle closed, let's see, I got it on the open there, stop below, and I went for a 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio there. So yeah, about a 25-point trade. And so that was my entry. I only took one trade today, and let's see how this played out. So each candle is 1 minute, so I was in this trade for 1, 2, 2.5, maybe 3 minutes. And so that was my trade for the day. And so a lot of you guys might say, okay, well, why don't you hold this for the euro high? You could make, 80 points and, make, what's 80 points? $1,600 per contract on the NASDAQ. Well, here's the thing with financial markets is there's infinite opportunity. If you went back in hindsight, you could say that I could have bought or sold this high and held the whole day, and every single day you could have made $20,000, $30,000. But in my opinion, that's the trap that traders fall into. And that's what I used to fall into as well. I used to get too greedy, too emotional. I wanted to be so profitable right now and make $100,000 every single day. And that's, in my opinion, just a flaw in our human psychology when it comes to money and trading and investing and gambling. And that has been my biggest flaw. So if you guys are struggling with that, feel free to message me in the comments and we can discuss ways that you guys can fix that. Because I'm not some superstar trader here. I'm just a guy who worked really hard at this and finally put together a strategy that is making him some money. And so I'm happy to share with you guys. I got all of this from free sources for the most part. So this was my trade. And now let's look at how this progressed. Let's just speed this up so we can see Look, I would have gotten stopped out if I tried to hold for that euro high. Now we come in here, bounce off VWAP, and now this is just kind of nonsense. Now Powell started speaking. You can see that we got this volatility, this right at, he must have said something that was hawkish about rates not coming down. And this is just kind of nonsense now. So in my opinion, the best way to scalp is to get in, get your money, and get out. And build a way to consistently do that where you're confident enough that you can go take one, maybe two trades, make a couple $100, get 3 or 4 of these PAs, and then that turns into, if you're making $500 per account, if you have 4 PAs, that's $2,000 a day. If you win 4 days, that's $8,000 a week. I mean, that's pretty nice for not even risking your own capital. So that's really the thought process that I employ here. And everybody trades differently. So you guys might be traders, and you might say, hey, I like looking for 200-point NASDAQ moves. That's great. You trade micros and you look for swing trades. But we're just scalping here. And so that's what I like about this is you essentially get a setup every day because you get a 20 or 30-point move every day in the NASDAQ, no question. You usually get 80 to 100-point moves. And so if you can go in and take 20 points out of the market and be done, it's a really low-stress way to trade. If you see, I was in here for not even 3 full candles. So let's go look at the performance. So this is pretty much the exact amount that I made yesterday. And so this is the new PA account that I'm trading. So I made $436 on this account. You can see gross, it was $440. I took 1 trade. Number of contracts is 2 because there was a buy and a sell. You can see I wasn't even in this trade for 2 minutes. And so if we go down here, yeah, just 1 trade for the day. And then if we switch over to the other PA that I've been trading, you can see that account balance is $53,235. So another 400, same exact trade. I just copy traded it. And if you guys have questions on how to copy trade, how that works, what the benefits are, and how I think you should be starting to scale if you're a new or struggling trader, you guys can message me in the comments as always. But let's look at the performance for this day. So yeah, 440, same exact trade, 1 minute, 59 seconds. And that's an ideal day for me. If you can come in and do this 3-4 days a week, have 1 losing day of a couple $100, and multiply this on a couple of accounts, then that's probably more money than you need. So yeah, that's really it. It was a successful day. If we look at the week so far, I mean, it's not really much. It's only Tuesday, but up $875 on 3 trades, $135 loser, $570 winner. And again, just to reiterate this point, I don't want to make more than $600 because these are PA accounts and they have the consistency rules with Apex. They're really annoying with that stuff. And so you really have to play by their rules. But at the end of the day, you're not risking your own capital. I bought this eval for $16.70 when they had some sale. They have sales all the damn time. And then I paid $140 for a lifetime fee. So until they move me to a live account, I can trade these PAs for life without any fees, and I'm out of pocket $156.70. So to me, that's a lot better use of your money than putting 10K into a Ninja Trader or a TOS account and trading your own capital. Now, once they move me to live, hopefully I get a couple of payouts before they do that, and then I'll move to trading my own money because I won't have a choice, or maybe I'll move to Top Step or something. But that's for the future. But anyway, we've been consistent. And hopefully this video is helpful for you guys. I want to do this as transparently as possible because, you go on YouTube and it seems like everybody's a professional trader making 20 grand a week and it's so easy. Why can't I do it? This shit is really hard. So you have to make it as easy as possible for yourself, and you have to have realistic expectations. Nobody comes in here and says, yeah, I made $400 today and gets 200,000 views and all these subscribers, because people want to see you making 100K. But it's baby steps. You start with this. Now I have 2 PAs. So now instead of making 400, it was almost a $900 day. A couple weeks I'll have a 3rd PA, and so now we're just going to continue to scale that way. So hopefully this video was helpful and informative for you guys. If you guys have questions, want to chat, message me in the comments, and let's just keep the ball rolling. So thank you guys for sticking with me.